That's like a one-time thing. It's like,
So you should be able to join now.
this rule, that.
Live video
She's the one that actually
broadcast.
grabbed it. She's like, let's just do this.
That's okay. That's just,
I like it. Feels fun.
Whatever works.
All of you.
What the
You
hell?
can explore.
Who are they?
he unlocked a character, the robot. You got him
So
unlocked.
Netscape.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
He needs him to hold the eggplant. That's why he can't. He's like, not letting him die right now.
You unlock characters, and the characters you unlock you can carry with you.
You don't have to.
So you
Like,
just
you
viewing
just
it?
unlock them so you can play it, but he needs.
He needs to be able to share the screen.
Yeah.
My
But
screen.
he needs
I
that
don't
character
know
right now so
that
that
part.
he can hold the eggplant while he does something else. Because they while you're playing the game, they have tanks for you.
It's like it was a real thing.
That's why he can't.
That's not
He's
HDMI?
like he's basically like
It's
using the game.
DisplayPort. Oh, gotcha.
And these are like mini DisplayPort probably, or Apple DisplayPort.
Yeah, I have a big DisplayPort at work. Does anyone know how to share the screen in Hangouts?
Should just be able to.
There you go. There's like the screen options and you just pick like your desktop instead of the.
Yeah, but we're doing it on air.
Oh, I have no idea.
What do you mean, laptop?
Yeah, he needs to share his screen, so we're going to pay
Google
through it.
Remote?
But he's not actually in the thing.
Wait, he's not actually in Hangouts?
Does anyone know how to share the screen?
A little bit of delay. The delay of that.
That's good.
Just like screen options.
Yeah, we're doing it on air. Yeah, he needs to share his screen.
It's quite the delay.
He's not actually.
Yeah, he's right here.
There are keys.
It's a holy test. I love it.
Does anyone know how to share the screen?
That's why I'm writing this in there?
Nope.
No?
Yeah, we're doing it on air.
I hear people talking, so.
That's Brian talking 10 minutes ago.
So I just posted another link on Meetup. Try to go to the other one.
God damn it.
It's just silence, and then every once in a while you just hear a voice.
Damn!
Oh, okay. Watching the game.
There you go.
Insane.
I think he just needs to keep him out of the way. Is what he's doing.
What if I lost the keys in the bathroom? For guns.
That huge thing.
No way to retrieve it. Let's see if we find out one. Big plant. Key.
Okay, we're one step closer.
And then viewing.
Multiple desktops.
Share.
You guys got it wrong.
This one?
Right here. Oh. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Okay.
Time for that.
Well, I think now you're.
Yeah.
Okay, so now.
It's like all
How do we, one more link, do you know how we,
That's how I learned when you were talking
connect
about.
How do we what?
Oh, yeah.
That always alludes to me.
I come by
You can, like pause your thing and take it off airplane. I think you really have to. Okay.
What's going on?
I've got a plan.
Okay, but you get
Whoa.
Yeah.
So, are you using parallels? Or are you
Banana source, that's a VMware. I could even like do this.
You can't use boot camp and use
Scroller games.
Boot camp when you boot up into Windows.
Oh, I don't-
Yeah, they survived this, yeah.
Well, I just want to parallels for because I can just.
Okay. Computer's doing something.
Can't run that both.
Yeah, the source.
You can.
This sees that.
Virtualizing.
It's something called parallels. I
Yeah.
actually looked into
Yeah, I think you need to.
Yeah, that's working.
I think this is one of these.
First of all, boot.
The game was boot.
I hate that because that's just
I think that's the only way.
Nobody judge that. That's saying that.
Yeah.
Let's go down the floor.
Which is fine, because it's not.
Actually, think you can do it with the USB image.
Wait, full screen this?
But if you're not like playing games or doing something,
Well,
it doesn't even matter.
So that's what I've seen it before. So this is why you like it.
Yeah, like, that, I also for like,
Well,
Oh, you're
I
screen
just,
sharing
if I
it?
want to use Linux, I just
No, we are.
remote
No,
desktop
but
and
you're
run
also
Linux.
hammering it?
If I want Windows or remote desktop.
I wasn't sure what's going on with this.
so you might actually get up and talk.
Yeah, so if you want to take your laptop up there, we can bring
Yeah, I have Windows 8 as well.
Well, I reset my desktop so point is for
Did you download the classic
Okay.
shell thing? No. Downloaded it. Makes
Or you
it
already
easy
set up
to
over
use.
here?
I don't know what the,
You don't have to use that crap.
I can talk this way.
Check it out. My program. I don't think most people will be able to read that. So, might not be important.
Okay, well, I guess we could all get closer and I go up there to the actual thing. I don't know, chair.
Is that your computer that's putting it up there?
Yep.
Is it mine?
Nope.
Okay, hang out. You said it was recorded?
Yep.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, you do hang out on air. And I don't know if it's on mic. It records it up to YouTube.
Need glasses.
Really?
Yeah, you know what that standing thing is? Well, it's about to stop. Circle?
It's probably in there somewhere. That's where they all are.
Yeah. So we'll probably push some chairs in this
I'm gonna do it close to
Okay, will that be okay? That's good. You want to start now? Yeah, so, thanks everyone for coming. And we have Robert Cohn who's going to be talking about XDA, I'm sure you guys all saw that. And they also sponsored tonight, so pizza and sodas from them. And thanks again to Cantina for hosting. I will let Robert start now.
Okay, so we need to turn off the AC so we can hear it. No?
Try. Well, they're very hot.
Okay, I'll get started, and what I'm going to talk about today is ways to publish HTML5 games, package apps, using tools. I work for Intel, and I'm architect for this Intel SDK, which I'm going to talk about in this presentation. I'll talk about that, plus some open source tools that Intel does, and they're all useful. So, most of you probably know what a package app is. So if you have something in HTML5, it could be hosted off of a web server, or it could be packaged. Packaged usually means that it's installed on a device, on a mobile device or a laptop or whatever. And the reason why people who install apps is that they get better offline behavior. HTML5 has that app cache and kind of works, but not for all cases. And install gives you more capabilities because you're not limited to what's running inside the browser sandbox. I know some of you are doing from apps, you get more APIs you couldn't do from a browser. And it can be published in stores, so a lot of people want to publish their games in the Google Play or the Apple App Store. And when it publishes in the regular store, you have to make it a package app, an APK or FDA. And when you publish in the store, it's beneficial because you get more discoverability. People just want to have their thing in the store because somehow people expect to find things there. And then there's services like payment so you can make money. And so for package apps for iOS and Android, the main way people do it is with Cordova, which is the open source version, or the phonegap is a distribution of Cordova, which is an open source project, but people mostly say phonegap. I'll just use either one for the presentation. And what phonegap lets you do is to package HTML as a native app, and for multiple platforms, for iPhone, Android, Windows 8, Windows 8 Phone, and BlackBerry, and some more. it's very popular. And another choice for packaging is with like Chrome apps and Firefox OS apps, and then something called Tizen on Intel and Samsung and Facebook. And so the Cordova apps are packaged as a native app. A native app usually means on iOS it means written in Objective-C, compiled down to ARM code, and Android is Java, Dalvik, and Winning could be a lot of different things. And on these other platforms like Chrome and Firefox, and a package app is really just a zip file containing all your HTML5 code, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, assets, and some kind of manifest that describes what the app is and how to launch it. That's basically a zip file. So today I'm going to talk about Intel XDK. It's a thing I work on, and it's an IDE for making package apps for the things I mentioned before. And it's not open source, but it's free, and there are no restrictions. You can do commercial work with it. We don't care. We're happy to do commercial work. And there's no, it's not like a premium thing where you get some capability you have to pay for the real thing. The whole thing is free, and we don't really have any intentions for charging for it. I'll also talk about PhoneGap Cordova, and which I just mentioned, that's open source, and it's owned by Adobe. And then there's also Crosswalk. It's a web runtime for Android, and Tizen is for Linux OS. It's also open source. It's sponsored by Intel. And WebKit, which is a web runtime for Windows, Linux, and Mac. I'll talk about more later. It's also open source and sponsored by Intel. So has anyone used Crosswalk yet? Okay, Kaylee was using it this afternoon, so you couldn't come today. But has anyone used WebKit? No. Okay. That's good. I gave it a talk. Okay, so Intel XDK, it's an IDE for making cross-platform apps with HTML5. So it's not focused on games, although a lot of people use it for games, and our most popular apps produced by the tool are actually games. It's a combination of some open source and proprietary tools. So things like Ripple, we use Cordova, open source, and then we've done our own. Also use Node WebKit. And then we've done our own things like a UI builder, which is not that useful for games, but for other people. And we put it all together into a simple workflow so you can make apps easily for a variety of platforms. And the components are editors, so editors for code and for UI builder, or you can use your own editor. It has something for emulation, and the problem solving there is that you have different form factors. You have iPads with a certain size screen and phones with a small screen. You don't want to have all the hardware around all the time to do testing. Emulation lets you do that with one laptop. It supports on-device testing, where you can do a quick deploy for debugging, so you can get it onto your phone quickly without having to go through a lot of hoops. And then it supports services like Google Maps is a data service, and I'll show you another one. Rotten Tomatoes, a movie site, has an API, and so it provides easy ways to add services into your app. And then it provides packaging, which I guess is the main thing for today. So packages for a variety of platforms. And if there's more, I'll show you a little bit later.
Are you going to talk about the emulation part?
Yeah, I'm going to go through the whole thing. So I'm just going to do a demo now. And I'm going to show you walk through the whole XDK. It'll probably take about 20 minutes. And so most of the things are useful for games. Some things are for regular apps. So I'm just going to show you the whole thing. So the way you usually start is that you start it up, and then when they start a new project, you have a variety of, you can start with a blank project where you can start with a demo, we have a bunch of demos, and I picked one, this rolling can, which I'll show you in a minute. And since I already imported it, I'm not going to import it again. It's already my project, so I'll just jump right to it. And the first tab is the editor. So this is Adobe Brackets. Does anyone use Adobe Brackets? Okay, so we integrated Adobe Brackets into XDK. It's pretty much the same thing you get from Adobe directly, but we wanted to have a good editor inside. We didn't have to write our own, and so we have Adobe Brackets integrated. You can also use your own editor if you want to use Visual Studio or Sublime or something like that. It works just as well because all the files are just written to your local disk. But there's a little bit more convenience from this editor that's integrated. So if you haven't seen Brackets before, it's pretty nice. It's all written in JavaScript. And so it does the syntax highlighting, it does API completion, and then it has some nice features like if you want to hover over something, it's showing you that white is white. I'll show you something else. Okay, so that's gray or crosshatch. So if you hover over something, I'll show you what it is. Hover over an image, it'll show you what it is. That's convenient. And then it does like completion of APIs, but also of file names. It's not working right now. It's a little slow. Okay, it worked when I tried it 10 minutes ago, but it should complete the file name. There's something funny about this one. Not getting it. Okay, so I have to figure out what the file name was. Remember what it was originally?
Maybe that's why I can't find it.
Undo.
Undo. Okay. Well, normally it completes. It's not doing anything. Okay, and then so we really want to make it easy for people to get their apps onto a device and test it. So it has this preview on device feature here. And so I have my Android phone. This feature today only works for Android when you have a USB cable connected. Other features are for iOS and don't require the USB. And we're having the ability not to require the USB cable that matters to you. So now I say preview on device, and I didn't bring a tablet, so it'll be hard to see, but it's a small crowd. So it's pushing the project onto the device, starting up an app. And so this was a rolling can demo. And so that's just a sample. And so the idea is that you can quickly edit. So I'm going to change the background here. And then I'll click. I mean, you can't really see the can very well because it's so small, but I'll let you see the witness. It's
It's a rolling can.
rolling can. Now watch the can very closely.
Reset. I can reset. It looks like a Mountain Dew can.
Yeah, so as soon as you save it here, then it pushes a new one there, so you can quickly make changes. So change HTML and future CSS, it'll push it on save. We also have the ability to preview in a browser. And my laptop doesn't have an accelerometer, so the can won't roll. But as soon as you change, okay, now it's doing completion. I don't know what it is about that one thing. Okay, so I did that, and actually, even without saving, when you go into the browser for various reasons, you don't have to save it. It immediately pushes it to the browser. So if I had two screens, this would be more convenient. But otherwise, you normally put this on the second screen, and then you can make changes and you can see the effect. So it's kind of like what you can do in CDT. You can like, edit CSS and see the effect. Now you're editing the actual document, so you can hit save. So it's a little more convenient than in CDT, where you have to go through some gymnastics to get saved to the actual file. Okay, so that's the development. And I showed you how to get on the device. So the next thing you may want to do is to debug it on the device. And if you used using KitKat, for Android 4.4, you might have used remote debug in HTML5. We support it for 4.0 and later, so you don't have to buy a new phone if you just want that feature. So we'll go to the debug tab. Let me go like here. So I that's it. And then I go over to the debug tab, and I say debug. And it's preparing for remote debugging, so it's pushing the app to the device. Then it's starting up CDT, Chrome DevTools on the laptop, but debugging the device here. And so this is the full Chrome DevTools. You can do breakpoints and everything. And also, since Chrome DevTools supports screencasting, you can screencast, and so you can sort of do the input there, but see it there, and debug it. Make it bigger. It's doing all the highlighting as if it was on the real device. So you get your choice there. That would be nice too. Okay, so that's debugging. And we also have a profiler. Oh, and the debugger is Chrome DevTools, so you get the full Chrome DevTools profiling. That works. We also have our own profiler, and the benefit of our own profiler is that it gives you some. It gives you line granularity profiling. Okay, I just turned my mic on, if anyone's listening. Okay. So the things I've shown you just now with the debugging, the profiling, it's only for Android, and today only with the USB cable, but we also support other devices. And I'm going to get to the emulation soon, but it's just not in this order. Okay, so...
Does the profiler work on the device? The code and then collect data on the device, it could be IDE and use to show you profiling data for other devices?
It'll work on any Android device that has only Android 4.0 and later. The way we had to get it to work is to change basically to change Chrome, and we have a special version of Chrome with extra hooks to collect the more data.
Oh, I see.
And
it uses Chrome built in.
Yeah, we have like a modified version. It's actually Crosswalk, but I think I'll talk about it in a minute. We put some changes into Crosswalk is like Chromium. We added some extra code, and we put that in there to do the profiling. That's why it doesn't work everywhere. But otherwise, you could just use the normal profilers. Okay, so now we also support testing without USB and on other platforms like iOS and Windows. And the way we do that is we have you can push your app to our server, or if you're using local Wi-Fi, we'll start a web server on the laptop. But because Intel, they put firewalls and everything, it's very hard for this thing to talk to that thing directly, so it's easier to go through the cloud for me. But for you guys,
you probably just would use the option where you have local Wi-Fi. But that's not what I'm going to show you right now. Okay, so I'm starting up this app preview app on here. It's like a companion app. And then you say, start the QR code reader. And then I point the QR code reader at the screen because there's a QR code there. And I say, OK. And it's OK, so then it loads the app. So you can run it here, too. So you can do this on the same thing on iOS and Windows, as well as Android. It's a little clunkier because you have to use a QR code or you have to go through a menu here to pull it onto the device. We also support Winery. Has anyone used Winery? Okay, everyone's used Winery, or at least some people. That's good. So Winery needs a server, so we provide the server for that. And Winery requires you to put some extra script tags in your app, which I've already done for this example here. And so we just need to begin debugging. It really connected. So it's talking from here to our server in Amazon and then back down to here. And doesn't seem like it's connected yet. I lost it. I'll try one more time. If it doesn't work, I'll give up. Thinking. I think maybe it's having network problems because usually this takes 10 seconds. Okay, I'm going to set it aside. I think it's a network connectivity problem. So, no, I think it's Wi-Fi would probably work. I just had to disable the firewall here, but maybe there's too much bandwidth going on here. Okay, but anyway, you've seen Winery. We have a server, so it's easy to use Winery. Winery lets you look at the console and inspect the DOM. It doesn't let you do JavaScript breakpoints, but for Android, we can do JavaScript breakpoints remotely. And I think we're going to have it for iOS probably like in the fall, too. But it requires some reverse engineering of some Apple stuff. So it wasn't as easy as Android, where it's all open source. Okay, so now we can get the emulation. So we have a built-in emulator, and it lets you, the idea is that if you want to test it on a lot of different devices, but you don't want to have them all and handle them. So it tries to simulate different devices inside a browser. So here it's simulating a Nexus 4, and you can see here it simulates the form factor, the resolution and stuff like that, and the user agent string, but not much more else. So it's not really like the platform SDK simulator that you get from iOS or Android. It's more of a higher level simulation. So you can say Nexus 4, or you can say iPad. Change the resolution. You can change the orientation, change the size, and then use a smaller device. So I'm on a small screen right now. Okay, so on a big screen, you can see this thing and that thing at the same time. I didn't realize. I usually have a bigger monitor. So the emulator simulates the form factor, the user agent string, and some of the device, some of the sensors on the device. So here, it's simulating the accelerometer, so I can make the can roll around. So you can test things that use that. And then that one's not that interesting. Also, it should control things like the network connection and status bar. And just like the accelerometer, it has the geolocation, so you can say it's somewhere else and can see what happens when you do that. Okay, so that's the emulator. So, no questions about that? Okay. So now you've sort of gone through the steps. You've written some code. You've tested it either with our debugger. You might have profiled it, and you emulated it. So you tried on a lot of different devices. And now you're ready to package it. And so you can install the platform SDKs. You usually have to buy a Mac if you want a package for iOS. And so it can be a pain if you're not on a Mac or you don't want to install a lot of SDKs. So we also offer a build service. And the way this works is that in the cloud, we set up build servers for a lot of different platforms: iOS, Android, Windows 8, phone, and regular store, and then ties in. And then Amazon is like Android, but a little bit different. And then also some packagers for the more simpler package apps like Chrome, and web app is just zipping up the web app. And so if you want to build for Android, you can just, I'll show you this one. It pushes the code, your code, up to the cloud, to our server. And then you can set things like the package name, the app name. These are plugins. These are Cordova plugins. And then whether you're not, most games want to be full screen, but other apps may not want to be, so you control that. Okay, yeah, I'm going to get to that. So, and then it lets you specialize the splash screens and the icons, and then you say build. And I'm not going to show you. The build takes like 3 minutes, so it's not too long. But when you're watching, it looks very long. So I'm not going to do it now. But okay, so in for Cordova, so we kind of had our own thing like Cordova, like an early fork of Cordova, and you couldn't do that. And then for the new version, which is just really Cordova, we just tell you right now, give us the manifest, and we'll build it for you. So you can edit it however you want. We actually make you edit it if you want to do anything. So you provide the manifest there, and we use that to build. So you can do pretty much whatever you want. And we're going to have like a fancier build UI in June or a little bit later, where some of the things will be kind of GUI to say some of the options, but then there'll be this sort of backdoor to put in whatever you want into the manifest as well. So you should have pretty much full control, but not today. Right?
Is there a reason you would do a Cordova build as opposed to just like the other data source, like other kind of like if you have an Android and iOS built there, why would you do Cordova on iOS?
Okay, so this Android is our old Cordova-like thing, which we decided wasn't the right thing for most people. So we're going to get rid of that and just offer two choices. One is Crosswalk for Android, and I'll talk about that, and also Cordova for Android. Yeah, iOS, same thing. We're going to get rid of our own iOS thing and have the Cordova for iOS. And right now it's called a beta because it's not quite there. I think in mid-June it'll be like final and really usable. Yeah, so we're standardizing on Cordova because that's what everyone wants to use, and the whole world is working on it, so we don't want to do anything different, except for Crosswalk, which is, I think, what I'll talk about now. Let's make sure I covered it. Okay, so anyway, you can build for iOS and Android, all that. You don't need to install the SDKs or have a Mac if you don't want it. Or if you have a Chromebook, you can't build for iOS, so it's a pain. But we let you do that. And the build service is also free, so whatever you want to do, you can do with no charge. Okay, so then there's some other stuff in here like a UI builder and the services integration. I'm not going to talk about it because it's not really relevant for games, but if you want to do other apps, it's useful. Okay, I'm going to talk about Crosswalk in like 5 minutes. Okay. I didn't realize it was later. Okay, so then we have a pretty good connection with Construct 2. I know someone gave a talk about it like 2 months ago or 3 months ago. I missed the talk. Okay, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it other than say it's really easy to go from Construct 2 into XDK. And so this is Construct 2. So you can develop your game in Construct 2, and it targets HTML5. It's not like you program in HTML5 directly. So it's this it's sort of you lay out things graphically, and then you write the logic of the game with this sort of a semi-graphical way of specifying things. It's like a declarative language, and so a lot of people like it. And then because it's a little bit more accessible than just doing HTML5 with the CSS yourself and all that, or whatever, doing the canvas yourself. And when you actually, after you develop your game, it generates HTML5, and you can deploy in a number of different targets. And so the way you do that is you say export, and the Android, has anyone used Ejecta? Okay, Caleb used all those things. So these are a bunch of ways to export for mobile. And so it generates HTML5, and then it needs to wrap it in something like Cordova to make it publishable. And so there's a target called Android, which actually is really targeting Crosswalk. So I'm getting into it now. Okay, so Ashley Golan is the main developer of Construct 2, and he's saying Android is very hard to target for HTML5 games. I'll show you why that is in a minute. And so Intel, he started asked Intel to do this thing called Crosswalk, or he was asking for it, and we were kind of thinking about it, and we did it. And so now the Android exporter for Construct 2 is really targeting Crosswalk, which is a web runtime to make it easy to publish on Android. So you say Android, and then you say where it goes to, and then you say export, and it writes out something. And I'll just do it right now because it's quick. So this takes about a minute. This is Construct 2 taking whatever its internal representation of the game and writing out all the assets and the JavaScript code and everything. And it's done. So this is all the files that Construct 2 generates. The some icons and index.html and the JavaScript. And now you can go in XDK and say new project, import an existing app. I gotta find it. Okay, so then I just imported into XDK. You can see in the emulator, you can debug it, whatever you want to do. And then you can say build it. So it's actually targeting Crosswalk, and so we have a builder for Crosswalk. You say build, uploads bundle, and then you build the app. And this is a thing that takes 3 minutes, so I'm not going to make you watch that. So it's that easy. You can develop the game in Construct 2 and then target Android through XDK and Crosswalk. And when it's done, if you wait, the wheel will stop spinning eventually, or it'll just send you an email. And the email has a link. If you read that email on your phone, you can just click on the link right here, and it will download the APK onto your device and run. So it's pretty quick to test stuff out as well. Okay, so I posted some of the APKs. It's also on the Meetup website if you want to try it out. The Rolling Can and the Space Blaster. If you have an Android phone, you can try it out. If you don't, then you can't do it. And I showed you Construct 2. And I tested all the stuff with Impact.js and with Phaser, and they all work. And basically anything that works inside a browser should work inside our tools, inside of Crosswalk. So it's pretty easy to develop in a browser, then move on and package it. And so get back to packaging again. And I mentioned Cordova and PhoneGap. So if you're making a native app, like you're on Android and you're writing Java or Dalvik, if you wanted, you could like make something called a WebView. Okay, and you make it full screen, and then say load some HTML into that full screen WebView, and then it'll basically run an HTML app inside of a native app. And a lot of you have probably done that before. So the code to do that is not so terribly hard, but what Cordova's kind of done it for you in a nice way and provided a lot of infrastructure around it, and automatic build scripts and everything like that, and plugins. So that's what we're using to package for iOS and Android going forward. And so most people are using this wrapper from Cordova. It's supported on a lot of different platforms. iOS and Android are what most people care about. Windows is kind of getting there. BlackBerry, it's there, but BlackBerry is declining, it seems. And so it's supporting a lot of platforms. It gives you a lot of APIs that aren't available to the browser, like file access to the native file system, and contacts and stuff like that. A lot of stuff started in PhoneGap, but then eventually became a browser API, I think like accelerometer and geolocation, but anyway, it's there. And I think a really nice thing is that it has a nice plugin capability, so if something is not available in the browser today and you want to get it, there's probably already a PhoneGap plugin that provides it. So if you're missing something, it's pretty easy to get it in to get to some platform capability. And a lot of tools support it, so if you spend time using PhoneGap, your time won't be wasted because you can use our tool or use someone else's tool. It doesn't matter, we all support it. And it's easy to get help because everyone's using it. Okay, so now if you want to actually use PhoneGap to publish on Android, but there's still a problem, and that's what Crosswalk is trying to solve. So for Construct 2, Ashley made this something called SiraMark that tests a web runtime to see what capabilities it has, or browser or web runtime. And so he identified the things that he thought were really relevant, and no one can read this, or I don't know, can anyone read this? Okay, so I'll read it for you. There's the first one is webgl, and then this is the codec for this. This is webaudio, APIs for device orientation, device motion, app cache offline access, webrtc. Okay, request animation frame, something else smoothing, and page visibility API, game API, full screen API. Basically, there's a bunch of things that Construct 2 needs in order to make good games. And so he wrote a little program that tests what's there. And let's go back to full screen. And so if you run this test in Chrome for Android on your phone,
going to get a score of 55 out of 55. So it has everything he thinks he needs today. But if you package for Android, and run it inside a package app on Android, then it gets 33 out of 55. And what's missing is webgl, webaudio, webrtc, and then vibration API. Right about that. So it's kind of strange that you run inside the browser, everything's there, you patch with phonegap or web, it's not there. And if you look at, that was on a 4.4 phone, KitKat. If you test it on older phones, it gets even worse. So it goes from 33 to 26 on 4.3, to 13 on 4.0. Basically, anything before 4.0, you can't do anything. And even the 4.4 is not good. Yeah, they're both Chrome. And yeah, I really didn't mention that, but so webgl 4.4 is Chrome. It's the same code base as that, so it's just a different version, but it doesn't have. When you go to 4.3, no longer Chrome is Android WebView. It's also WebKit, but it's just old and hasn't been updated or whatever. It doesn't have a lot of features. It's the same problem when you look at performance. So this is also a after turning to a benchmark. And if you run it inside of Chrome, you can't read this at all. But the average for FPS is 57. It's a 60 max, so that's great. Everything looks good. And this game has a lot of objects flying around, so it's not a trivial thing. But if you run it inside of WebView, that's it's 7 frames per second. Sure. So it's like useless for anything complicated. It's also surprising because it is the same code base. It's broken. So I was going to benchmark the other phones, but since it's already 7, it doesn't really matter anymore. So I think that it's the same code base. I think Google will fix the problem. I guess this is because of hardware acceleration. I don't know why they couldn't do it. It's no problem. The other features, I'm sure, like the WebRTC, webgl, I think they will be enabled, but it's going to have to fix that problem and release it before you can do anything on Android. And so it's a question of how long is that going to take. So here is the different releases of Android. KitKat 4.4, Jelly Bean is 4.1, example is 4.0, and this is the release. So 2014 will probably fix the WebView. It'll be just as good as Chrome browser. It'll be great for games. But if you're going to publish a game, you don't want to publish something that only is here. You want to be like here. So the dark green is all the 4.0s. But it may take, optimistically, I think it'll take 2 years before the day Google publishes it with WebView. The time you can publish a game, say, most users would get good performance. So it makes it very hard to do something like Android today, and probably for 2 years. And that's what Crosswalk is trying to solve. So it's chromium web runtime for Android. So it's the same code base. And, trying to fix some of the problems. So it's really targeted at packaging HTML5 and native app via Cordova, just like our old Cordova, replacing the WebView, Crosswalk WebView, still Chromium, but with all the features that you want. So that's WebGL, webaudio, webrtc, organization lock, full screens, splash screens, everything. It has hardware acceleration, and so it's good. And it targets 4.0 and greater. You get you this dark green circle here, so it's about 80%, 75 or 80% of the market, and it's shrinking over time. So I think this is good enough for most people. It's from software Intel, so it's focus on the things that make it easy to make package apps and not on. So it's not like duplication or fork, it's really adding some stuff and making a separate distribution good for games, for package apps. And another nice feature is that the runtime is packed with the app. So if you start an Android game and use phonegap the normal way, you get whatever runtime's on the system. So you don't
really know what you're going to get. It may be really horrible or maybe good. So with Crosswalk, you put the web runtime into the app and you ship it that way. So the app is much bigger, so the minimum size is anyway. And big, but a lot of games have a lot of assets and are much bigger anyway. So it's probably, for games, it's not a big deal. For tiny little apps, it's a big thing, but they don't probably use Crosswalk anyway. Anyway, it's attached to the app, so when you ship your app, you know it's going to work well on all 4.0 phones. All 4.0 phones.
Yep. Good performance. And I'll show you that here, going back to those benchmarks.
The 4.4 web view gets 33, but with Crosswalk you get 55, just the same Chrome browser. The performance test 57 frames per second. So you get all the good things about Chrome browser. You get the package with the phonegap, and you put it in the store.
Does it support buttons that work in the Chrome browser? Or?
Yeah, it has its own extension system, but it also supports Cordova plugins. And the only issue is that the Cordova, the Crosswalk WebView interface is slightly different. So some plugins that do stuff to the WebView, like change the size or something, may not work. But other plugins that just do normal Android things like expose some contacts database or something will work out of the box. So you can use most plugins, and you'll have good performance and good results.
Ask how up to date Chromium is.
Yes. Yeah. So Chromium has a 6-week cadence, and so when they release 6 weeks, their release, and then Crosswalk picks that up, and it also has a 6 weeks cadence, but they're kind of 6 weeks behind. So the stable Chromium is the beta of Crosswalk. But so the beta, actually, most of our users use the beta anyway. They find it works pretty well because it is the stable version of Chromium with some small changes. So if you want to use the beta of Crosswalk, you can be just in sync with yeah. And so you get this 6 week cadence. You know, Google plus, I don't have slides on this, but so Google's doing a lot to Chromium. Actually, Intel's a big contributor as well, and Samsung. So everyone's putting stuff into Chromium, and then we take that, we make it into Crosswalk, and you get all the benefits, and you get all the updates. That's nice for developers. Okay, so to use Crosswalk, I showed you there's a build option in XDK. You can also do command line yourself. So if you're doing Cordova on the command line yourself, then you can use Crosswalk. I just did it this morning. It's almost the same thing a little bit. You install different kit, but otherwise it's the same. And so it works really well with Construct 2. Construct 2 really targets it for Android. And I tested Phaser and Impact.js. They all work because anything that works in the browser will work in Crosswalk. So your game engine that you're doing, it should just work. And if it doesn't work, they'll fix it. And so the demo, I think I kind of shown you already. And so we had a lot of experience with people who were using Construct 2 and doing games in the browser on the desktop. And so for the first time, they could target Android. And so they're trying it out. And so a lot of people had good results. Some people had some issues. And it's just really, it's not really a problem with Crosswalk, but just something about mobile. And here are some of the issues. So Chrome desktop and Chrome for mobile, Chrome for Android, they behave differently. It's the same code base, but it's a different set of features. So some things are missing on Android. And over time, I think Google will complete everything. So some of these are a temporary thing. Another thing to keep in mind is that this desktop CPU in your laptop is probably 10 times faster than a typical phone. So something that looks great when running the browser and desktop may be very slow or jerky running on the phone. And so people have to cut down their games, have less objects, and things like that in order to make it work well on mobile. And mobile has less memory, so sometimes you'll have a lot of objects. It's fine on desktop, and you have to scale back to make it fit on a phone. And then the GPU provides the graphics acceleration. It's also underpowered on phones compared to a desktop. And we found that a lot of phones are blacklisted by the Chrome browser, which means that Chrome thinks there's a problem with the GPU and says, I won't use it. And so we added a way to disable the blacklisting you go ahead anyway. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, then you don't have to worry about it. But you'll lose it. Okay, so what we tell people, if they try it in Crosswalk, it doesn't work, the first thing to try is Chrome for Android, the browser. And usually, if the problem's there, then it's a problem that maybe Google has to fix, and you have to wait a little bit of time. And just another issue about when you test your games, if you test it in the desktop browser and it works, doesn't mean it's going to work on mobile because all these issues that I mentioned before. Okay, now I'm going to finish with Crosswalk. There are other questions about Crosswalk or XDK? Okay. And then this is about publishing for desktop. So if you want to have a package app on desktop, a native Windows, Linux, or Mac app, Intel provides a solution for that as well. And it's very similar to Crosswalk. It's a Chromium web runtime, and it's for Windows, Linux, and Mac. It lets you package HTML5 as a native app. XDK IDE is built in it. So I showed you the IDE. It's actually this Node WebKit app. It's totally written in HTML5, the whole IDE. It supports APIs, the browser APIs, WebKit APIs. Node.js is also supported, so you can write an app in JavaScript and on your desktop using the file processes, all the NPM packages. And it provides some special Node WebKit APIs, like for getting at the native menus. So you can make an app that has menus, native menus. It's also open source, sponsored by Intel. And it's also, you package the app with the runtime and you distribute it, so you get that reliable performance. And I'm going to skip this, but one of the exporters for Construct 2 is Node WebKit. So just you take your game and you say package for Node WebKit, and it generates a Linux, Windows, and Mac binary. And you can take that and you can ship it. So it's very easy to use from Construct 2. And the way you want to do it yourself, take your HTML things, your HTML, your CSS, and JavaScript, and images and stuff like that. You make it into a zip file, this app.nw, and then you take Node WebKit, and you can just cat them together. You can just combine the files into one file. It makes an executable that you can distribute and run directly. It's very easy to package. And in fact, XDK doesn't generate Node WebKit because it's so easy to do by yourself. You just have to write this package.json. If you use Node before, you recognize this file. So Node WebKit uses the same thing. So it's describe for Node WebKit the size of the screen and some dependencies and the name of the file. And you take your HTML and the Node WebKit binary, you can make a single app that you can run. And this is the sequence of commands on Windows for Sigwin. I did that right before. I'll just show you the final app. The packaging will work on Linux, Windows, and Mac, and you can package for Windows, Linux, and Mac. So for anything.
Does it do ARM?
Oh. No, it doesn't do ARM.
The Raspberry Pi is ARM.
Yeah, it won't do Raspberry Pi. It won't do anything with ARM. So that's an interesting thing. I guess there'd have to be a Chrome browser for Raspberry Pi before. I guess there is. Is there?
I mean, you could build from.
Yeah. So it's possible, but Intel's not going to do it because it's not our thing. Okay, so I exported something from, no. I just wrote a simple app, just puts up Hello World, and I packaged it the way I showed you before. And then this is a Windows app. and it's running inside of Node WebKit. It looks like a browser, but you can turn off the URL and stuff like that. So it just be a frameless thing, and it looks like an app, and that's what XDK is. It's just a Node WebKit app. So if you like to write stuff in JavaScript for desktop, you can make nice stuff as well.
Have you seen app.js?
No.
Like basically, I just saw it in Facebook.
Okay.
It's just app.js.
There's CEF, which is similar, Node WebKit. I hadn't heard of app.js. Then also Brackets has its bracket shell, and now on GitHub they have their editor Atom. They have Atom shell. So there's about 5 of them. I think Node WebKit's the best, but they're all free. You can just pick which one you like the best.
Google kept telling us that they were eventually package apps.
Did they say?
They never gave us any time on it.
Okay.
Like, they'll come.
For Android, they're going to do it?
Well, just for package apps in general, so be able to run tests.
Okay. Okay, well, that sounds good. It's pretty much what we're doing. If they do it, it's great too. Just you really want whatever you choose. You're not going to be wasting time.
That's the best part about the whole
Yeah, it's HTML5, the standard. We're all doing the same thing. You can switch tools at a drop of a hat, and so you just use whatever works for you now. So that's it. So I said XDK is for creating HTML5 apps. Crosswalk web runtime. It's good for packaging for Android. Node WebKit's good for packaging for Windows, Linux, and Mac. And using Construct 2, it targets Crosswalk and Node WebKit, so it's very easy to use. And that's all I wanted to say. So are there any questions? Any more questions? Which hardware? Oh yeah. So for Node WebKit, it's Node.js, and Node.js can load in. You can compile something with C, and then make it exposed. Yeah, you can include C into Node WebKit. So if someone probably has already done a Node package that talks to the. Actually, the serial port is through a device driver, so you need file access to get to that. So you could probably just write it directly in JavaScript and talk to the device driver through a file, the file, and do it. But if you need to do something that's like not available through the file access, a device that's not available that way.
So you're going to cable work by wireless links?
Whatever you can get to from C, which is everything, you can get to through Node WebKit. But you have to do the extra work of making a package, write it in C, and say expose it by JavaScript APIs. Yeah, I mean there's like 100,000 Node packages, and they've done almost everything you can imagine. That's why it makes Node WebKit so good, is that you can get to all that stuff.
Does the XDK the APIs?
We're more focused on mobile now, so we're really just pushing Cordova. And I think we want to do Chrome OS better. We're not really, you can do Chrome OS through our tools, but we don't provide anything specific to Chrome OS, like the Chrome OS APIs. We'll probably do that over time, but otherwise we don't really have much like that.
So what are the APIs? I know you covered like acceleromics. Do you have a list of all of the ones that they added to it?
Well, it's whatever's in Cordova we give you. I didn't hear. Oh, okay, so the camera you can get to Cordova. The infrared, you have to get a Cordova plugin, which there probably is one. And like Bluetooth needs a plugin. So a lot of these things that are not part of the browser APIs, you have to get a PhoneGap plugin to do it. And just like with Node, I said there's always a package in Node. There's almost always a PhoneGap plugin that does it as well. So the idea is you find a plugin that someone wrote some native code for, they expose that capability with JavaScript APIs, it packages a PhoneGap plugin, and then your JavaScript app can get to it that way. Yeah. So there's something called web workers in JavaScript which is not multi-threaded, but it lets you use multiple CPUs. They don't share memory. So you send a message and it does something and it sends it back. And so you can do that in Crosswalk today. You can't do it in the web view, but you can do it in Crosswalk. You can do it in the browser. And if you wanted true threads, you could probably write a native plugin that would do something inside a multi-threaded. Yeah, Java has threads. So yeah, but it wouldn't be like you could have multi-threaded JavaScript. You could have a JavaScript API to call a multi-threaded module that did something. It's the best you can do today. But you have web workers, which is Java, multiple JavaScript contexts, not sharing memory, but using multiple cores at the same time. So it depends why do you want multi-threaded, I guess that's what I should have asked. Just curious. Okay.
Sounds very new to development. He's embedded systems.
Oh, okay.
It's a completely different way of thinking under the web, try to do all this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's amazing because coming from embedded, I think going to JavaScript, you throw away like a factor of 10 in performance. Doesn't matter. So it takes some getting used to, I think. Well, maybe not a factor of 10. At least like a factor of 2 or 3.
A factor one way or the other.
Yeah. Okay, so that's it. If you have questions about it, if you try it out, you have problems, I'm very here to help you guys. And so you can just send me an email, and that's it. Okay, well, thanks for listening to.
Yeah, I'll take the opportunity to make a plug here. I work here at Cantina. But we are hosting a game jam that we regularly put on here